The Mayo Experience.
That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience. It's here, the 2018 U.S. Open. We're going to be giving you the picks, the field breakdown, everything you need to know about the course at Shinnecock Hills, and I'll even tell you what's coming up. Friday, DraftKings Mega Millionaire Maker DraftKings preview. I'm going to have a slew of guests from around the community breaking down the entire field, top sleepers, top ownership, top everything, and everyone's pick to win. Plus, there's going to be some giveaways, which I'll get to in a second. So you're going to want to tune in to that next Monday. Geoff Fienberg and Tim Andacust will be here to finalize our picks, go over the props, some head-to-heads, all that fun stuff. Tuesday, the DraftKings Millionaire Maker ownership preview, then the live chat on Wednesday, plus coverage all throughout the tournament to get you ready for DraftKings showdown slates, in-play wagers. But today, we're just really going to feel everything out to see where the odds are at. Maybe we like some guys, but want to wait to see if their odds drop because they're not playing this week at the St. Jude. So to break that all down with me, it's Geoff Fienberg.
Exciting to be here. Exciting times.
What are your major rankings?
The Masters is always number one. I'm going to cop out. Both Opens to me are like, it'd be a nose hair in deciding which one I like more. Sometimes I like I like going all night sometimes at the U.S. Open, but the early morning days, are great with the Open Championship, and the PGA, it's like the Fiesta Bowl.
Yeah.
Even though that's an unfair,
it's fun.
It's just an easy narrative to kind of pick on, but yeah, and you might say it's got more history than even some of the more revered ones, but I don't think any kid ever stands on the green, practice green, hitting a 10-footer for the PGA Championship.
Yeah, if I win this, I get the Wanamaker trophy.
Yeah, it feels, I don't know, like I joke, it's sort of like feels like the Fiesta Bowl of BCS games, and which is kind of unfair because the field is
super strong.
Super strong.
Except for all those like club pros that are in it.
And the courses that they choose are absolutely fantastic. So it's kind of unfair, but it's a narrative I like to run with. But at the week of the major, they're always my favorite ones.
U.S. Open, the hardest one to win, because it's probably going to be the most difficult course. I mean, last year it was the PGA Championship, but historically, the USGA sets up the U.S. Open in a way that makes it unfair sometimes. Like the last time it was at Shinnecock Hills in 2004, when it was just a bloodbath. Only two guys finished under par. Teef won at -4. Phil was -1. Then everyone else was over par. We're not going to see that this time around unless the wind is just killer.
Didn't you, plus 11 was getting you good
top
money?
Top 20.
Yeah,
it was a top 20.
Yeah. So it was a bit of a bloodbath last time, Pat. And I how do I put this? It's always fun sitting at home on your couch, as long as it's maybe not someone you're heavily rostered or you got your bet in, but guys get triggered. Multiple guys. Billy Horschel's usually a favorite for that. But guys get triggered at the U.S. Open.
Tim Andacust embodies them. They're just being triggered around the course.
It happens. And last year was a bit of a gong show. The layout. It had no defense.
I wouldn't expect Shinnecock Hills to play much like Erin Hills. Unless there's just no wind whatsoever.
I mean, I'm not going to be like our buddy Tim, and it's almost like it didn't exist. Like it didn't exist in the annals of U.S. Open history. It was a Muni tournament, a laugh riot, as Tim will tell us on Monday. But I'm really excited. The field is strong, and it's almost like the books again are saying, we don't got a clue, and good luck to you, because there's no guy that's really ahead of anybody. Maybe, by the time you're watching this, if Dustin wins in Memphis.
Yeah, if Dustin wins in Memphis.
He'll be like 9-1 or something. If Brooks can crash Brooks can join that day sort of price range maybe. If
Phil wins, he'll vault up.
If Phil wins, that'll turn that banner on U.S. Open, shape and that narrative that is whatever. But I'm not, I mean, maybe he wins in Memphis, but I'm not expecting a ton of the odds to change. I think we might even see some drift. And I thought, especially at the Memorial, a lot of the elite players, Pat, sort of put themselves in a great spot. Unlike, say, before the Masters, a guy like Rory, he won at Bay Hill, that sort of really turned up the pressure. but Rory's kind of been sneaking around. Dustin's had really strong players and memorial moments. It seems like most of the elite players, unlike the golden child, everyone is in, for the most part, I would argue, close to where they would want to be right now. So it's incredibly exciting. And like I said, the books, based on the prices again, they're like, good luck to you figuring this out. No one's being really underpriced, and they're saying, we don't got a clue, you figure it out.
All right, before we get into the course, before we get into the odds, I do have some giveaways that people might be interested in. Would you be interested in a giveaway? I think you're ineligible because you're on the show, but let's say you weren't. Would you be interested in a giveaway?
I'll leave it for the people, but I'm always exciting. You see me, if you follow me on Twitter, I'm always major weeks like the brands, your TaylorMades, your Super Strokes, they're all like do these awesome bag and giveaways with major memorabilia. So I'm always in for free stuff.
All right, so here's what you can do. There are a couple of giveaways, so you can get some DK bucks to get some Millionaire Maker tickets on the go because everyone wants some of those. Plus, I'm going to be giving away a year-long membership to FantasyNational.com as well.
That's valuable.
Yeah, it's super valuable. So since the Masters to now, it's been like 6 weeks, Fantasy National members have won $1.15 million just on DraftKings alone, and that's what we know about.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's
not including everyone. That's just the ones that people like screenshotted to us.
I would say there's at least probably a 35% jump in that actual number.
Oh, yeah.
Probably more,
hey,
to be fair.
20K was from me.
There it is.
Still fire. I want to see if I can get into that $1 million range. But more on that.
Don't we all?
So there's going to be different giveaways for this show and for the Millionaire Maker show, so you got to tune into that tomorrow. Always give the episode a like. That's step one. So if you want to get some DK bucks, give this episode a like, and in the comment section, give me your pick to win and leave your DraftKings handle. Boom. That's one way that you can get in the draw to win some DK bucks. Number two, I'm going to be releasing these shows ad nauseum on Twitter. Just if you retweet them, just retweet them. Not a like, a retweet. And then in the replies, just reply to me with your DK handle. Boom, you're in the draw for that one. But for the Fantasy National giveaway, we'll have a pinned tweet, not a twinned Pete, a pinned tweet up on @Fantasy National. So follow Fantasy National on Twitter, retweet that tweet, and boom, you're in the draw. Because I can just go see who's done it, and if you win, then I'll just contact you, and boom. And that's, it's $200 for a year-long membership. Even if you're already a member, you can be eligible for this. So it's just going to be a random draw. One person gets a free year-long membership to Fantasy National. Comes with all the tools. Every stat that you see here is going to be from Fantasy National, plus it has every tool: lineup generators, ownership projections, event simulators, the most customizable stat engine, custom models, mixed condition models. You can filter by anything. It's the only thing that I really use when I'm looking at stats. Stats aren't the only thing that you should ever use, but I think it's a good gateway into finding some sleepers for this event, maybe some long shots to bet on. It's a great tool.
The best. It makes a great Father's Day gift.
It does, yeah.
Your dad's making lineups.
So those are the giveaways. Like I said, you go to Twitter, retweet the show, tweet me your DK handle, leave your winner in the comment section of this show after giving it a like. You can do that if you leave a review on iTunes as well, if you're listening to this on the audio version and the Fantasy National giveaway. Hit that retweet button. Boom, you're in the contest for the free year-long membership. So let's get into the course. Shinnecock Hills. You ready for this?
I am super excited, and I'll say this. I hope it's as hard as possible. As someone that sits across the table from you week in, week out, we get it all. We get the crazy scoring weeks, the gong show birdie parties. But I really do enjoy when these guys, for lack of a better word, get triggered. I enjoy it. It really, I like seeing when it is a race to even par. So I'm hoping for the course and the setup to be what the USGA intends it to be.
All right, first time since 2004, fifth time Shinnecock Hills has hosted this, just under 7,500 yards. It's a par 70, so that's super long. It's the fourth longest par 70 major in major history, and the big difference between now and 2004 would be
Length,
and there's been a redesign. There's no more ryegrass rough. Boom, that's been replaced.
2 redesigns.
Well, in 20, there was the Crenshaw redesign, like renovation in 2012, and the USGA kind of scaled it back a little bit after seeing everyone demolish Erin Hills last year. So last year at Erin Hills, the fairways were like 60 yards wide in some spots. So the fairways were widened for Shinnecock Hills, because before, in 2004, it played like 26 yards across. It's a very small landing area. Now they're going to average around 41 yards in length. So I've been seeing a lot of people on Twitter being like, oh, look where they've mowed in everything. That's only after the redesign. They're still significantly wider than they were in 2004. So don't let that narrative play in. You're still going to have to take the fairways.
But it's much longer.
It's 500 yards longer, which is tough. So it brings, for me, like when I'm looking at stats, I think that off the tee is going to be super important. Like if you can find someone who hits it both long and straight, that's the guy that you want to go with.
Oh, just that little thing. Well, I could think of a couple guys.
All throughout, there are 3 people in the field over the past 100 rounds who rank in inside the top 35 in both driving distance gained versus the field and fairways gained against the field. Do you know who those 3 people are?
How many of them aren't super elites?
They're all Euros.
Because I was gonna go off the board and guess Xander.
No, Xander's not one of them. He's close.
Because he's very long. He's very straight.
He hasn't been so straight recently.
Well, good Xander. All Euros. Justin Rose.
Nope.
John Rahm.
Nope. You get one more wrong guess before I tell you.
Tommy Fleetwood.
No. Fleetwood's very close. Rahm's not because the accuracy.
Get anything.
Casey, Ross Fisher, and Sergio.
I was set up. But that was part of proving your point.
Those are those are the 3, which I found very surprising because they removed all the trees from the course as well, so it's no longer protected against the wind. It's wide open now. So wind has the potential to come in and just wreak havoc on all of this.
There is definitely going to be a wind bias or a weather draw bias situation, and it seems like there are a lot of landmines out there.
Oh, of course. And if let's say it doesn't rain for a while and the course plays really firm. So even if you land it in the fairway, you might just roll through the fairway and then you're in knee-high fescue.
Yeah.
This is going to play potentially a lot like an open championship. Shinnecock Hills is the original links-style course in America. And it seems to be, after the redesign, gravitating more towards that type of layout again. And if the wind starts swirling, people are screwed.
2004 seems like, and it really is, a long time ago. Is there anything that we have played, whether yearly or in recent major championship history, that you can make a visual or some kind of comp to?
Not really. The only thing that really kind of sticks out in my mind is the way that you're going to have to shape the ball off the tee in order to hit tighter fairways at a really long course with POA greens, which is something that you rarely see outside of California. Riviera. I know I use that as one of my comps in terms of the Masters, but where it is so daunting in length, you're not going to have the par 5s to feast on. I think that Riviera is a decent comp here.
And speaking of that, one of the par 5s, I saw the guys walking from the No Laying Up guys put out a great video.
Yeah, it was
sort of gives you a great Coles Notes introduction to what you're going to be seeing as the players get there, and we see a lot of tweets and stuff from players next week. And they showed you how far that new par 5 tee box is. Holy jeez, there might be 3 guys in the field that could get there in 2.
Yeah, it's not going to be a high-scoring U.S. Open unless conditions are soft. And if conditions are soft for 2 days, they're going to just ratchet it up, crank up the greens to make sure that people finish right around -5.
I like it.
I don't mind it either, but I don't want to see an event where it's one thing when you go to an Open Championship and the winning score is +9 because the wind is just so devastating. But knowing that you could go there the next week and someone might shoot 25 under.
So what is this you think it's the Truman Show and they can just control what it's going to be?
No. But the whole thing is I don't want to see them needlessly set it up so difficult that no one can play it. And then wind comes in, everyone's 20 over par. Try to make the winning score -7. Yeah. That would be my ideal U.S. Open.
And they'll try. They look at the weather and they decide to change pin placements based on that. I don't know. This little conversation here already has me more excited, and we haven't even gotten into breaking down players.
All right, well, let's do that right now. Let's get into the favorites. So here are your favorites for the 2018 U.S. Open. At the very top of the board, 11-1. There's 2 of them, Rory and Dustin, both 11-1. Then we have Spieth, Justin Thomas, they're both 14-1. Day and Tiger are both 16-1. Justin Rose, Ricky Fowler, 18-1. And John Rahm is 20-1. Those are your guys. Those are your favorites in this field. And we'll drop down to the other tiers right after this. First look, again, I'm going to wait until Monday to really finalize my bets, and a lot of the big part of that is I use Bet365 mainly as my book, and right now, in terms of each-way odds, and if people want to know what each-way is, just Google what is an each-way bet. It's very
Much
concise.
easier than having someone explain it.
Yeah, basically you take, let's say if you bet $20, 10 goes to the win, 10 goes to whatever the each-way is. Right now, it's a top 5, but I know on Monday, Bet365 will open that up to top 7, top 8 at the Masters.
Okay, so this is almost what I want to talk about before we get into players. I got the feelings because it's so kind of wide open with the pricing at the top that I think there's going to, like you said, like we saw with the Masters, the books will get ultra competitive for your business. Like you said, Bet365, which is normally a T5 each way, pushes it back. Some places in Europe push it back even.
Yeah, Betfair might be doing top 10 each way. Who knows?
Like top 40. By the time like they're done. Books that we don't. I mean, people in the States are jealous of what we have access to, and we're jealous of the guys over in Britain. What they have access to.
Hopefully that all changes soon.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a bit of drift with most guys in the field. To be perfectly honest, I'll say this. I don't think I'm going to bet it, but gun to my head to win the U.S. Open, the guy at the top would always be my first pick.
Yeah, that's where I was.
Would always be my first pick. If this was
Dustin Johnson is who you're saying.
If this was in football season or something, right now, if there was a lead-in, I'd like to think I would have had parlays, but we get into once. I'm always prepared for the Masters. Like, by the time we do this show specifically for the Masters, my card is, like, done.
Yeah, me too.
It's done. I've been betting the Masters through the winter, through NFL playoffs, doing exotics, week in, week out. But once, like, golf season gets going, guys, like, I'm just worried about getting through the next week as opposed to, like, people, like, trying to clue me into majors down the road. That's just a product of how it goes for me. So my card is pretty barren now. I have a few bets compared to the majors, but I don't have any super exotics. I know you got an exciting one like we did, going into the Masters. But Dustin would, like I said, if someone's like, my family's being kidnapped and I got to save him, who's winning the U.S. Open? Like, it'd only be one. It'd be DJ for me.
You'd be like Lola at the end of Run, Lola, Run, when the third story, when they actually get away with it. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the German film Run, Lola, Run, which is quite excellent, by the way. But when she needs all the money to get money out of the trouble, so she just goes in and lets it all ride on roulette. Just hits the spin and boom, you got all the money. If you need all the money, Dustin probably is your best bet. I probably won't be betting him. I have Rory, like you mentioned, that exotic. I parlayed back in January. I parlayed Rory with the
Eagles
with
right?
Jacksonville to beat Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So he's up to 40-1 for me.
Great.
That's my exposure at the top of the board. There is a guy that I will be betting from these top 10, but I'm gonna wait because I think that the number might act, and that's the big thing. There's so much influence that can go into the rest of it that, hey.
And I would say this, Pat. I would say as a group, even though there might not be the wins to show for it, I would say the top group is playing better now than this group was going into the Masters. Going into the Masters, the only one who seemed to be winning was Justin.
Rory.
Yes, Rory had the win at Bay Hill, but I feel like there were more questions with these top guys. Now I feel like even though there haven't been the wins, the results have been...
I don't know about that. Dustin had a win on the year. Rory had a win. Thomas had 2. Day had 1. Rose hadn't won in the calendar year, but he had been like a top 5 machine. And Ricky won the hero.
Fair. Anyhow, even though there haven't been wins since the Masters, I know Day won one and Rose got something. I think they're all playing pretty well outside of Jordan. Rory was close at the BMW. People would have thought on that morning. Was it the BMW? There was something really where he...
Yeah, it was the BMW.
Yeah, that he let...
Molinari ended up winning.
Yeah, Rory's been close a ton. Every time he kind of tees it off, there's low rounds. Dustin, like I said, at the Players, at the Memorial, they kind of been just lurking in the right place, ready to pop.
Well, here's the thing. This is a very hot takey type thing that makes absolutely no sense, and I'm not going to be doing it. But here's what I can envision happening at Shinnecock Hills. Who is the one guy from all these top guys that everyone's just going to say, nope, playing like shit, can't use him?
Jordan Spieth?
Yeah, so he's probably going to win.
Fuck. I mean,
Swear all you want.
I got no time for that.
Listen, I don't want to. I'm not going to do it. But remember when he won? Remember when he won the Open last year? It's like, Jordan Spieth won the Travelers. That was like that's the only thing that the guy can do. And then all of a sudden, boom, he wins the Open Championship. It would seem very Spiethy just to come out and win this. It's the moment even in like the DraftKings community and everything, like people are just latching onto him. And he finally had a bad tee to green week at Memorial, and that was always the thing with Spieth all season long is that he just couldn't putt. But tee to green, he was lights out. He was essentially Luke List when it came to stats. But all of a sudden, the tee to green goes away. Everyone's going to jump off, and then boom, Spieth's going to.
But that's the thing. We always like to bring up who's the forgotten elite.
It's him.
It's him. It is him. It's
three-time major winner, a U.S. Open champion.
That is where it is. That's just not me, part of my brand, picking on him, which I like to do and can take. I'll enjoy the struggles that he's having, and I'm sure he's going to win like 2 of 3 events at some point in the coming weeks. But that's just where I stand. And I'll say this. Justin Rose got his win at the Memorial. He's been playing so well, Pat, since Christmas.
Fort Worth, he won.
Sorry. Been playing so well all years, essentially, since Christmas. And everyone in that video you had, or that huge percentage for the Masters, it was Justin Rose, Justin Rose, Justin Rose. I am so... you look at this course sets up so well for him. You almost wish he was lollygagging in this year and was like 28-30 to 1. Because what this finishing score is going to be and what his skill set is... always sort of works perfectly for the U.S. Opens, but his game is peaking and his price is at a ceiling.
It's fair.
It's fair, but there's a couple guys that, I mean, I'm a sucker for one of them, but I think there's a bit of value in some places at the top.
All right, Ricky Fowler's 18 to 1. You love Ricky. Ricky's your guy.
You
got the Ricky Stunna shades. You got it all.
There's a tradition like no other is me continuing to throw red and brown birds at Ricky Fowler to win majors.
That would be Canadian money, by the
currency. Yeah, I don't have it yet. I'm pretty tempted.
Are you going to talk yourself into it?
Yeah, it's already. There's no way I won't have something.
He shouldn't be 18 to 1 here. He shouldn't be on the level of these guys. He shouldn't be. Like, why is Brooks Koepka behind him? Who has a better chance of winning the U.S. Open, Brooks Koepka or Ricky Fowler?
Equal.
No, it's Brooks Koepka.
I have money on Brooks Koepka.
Well, that's
45 to 1.
Yeah, he's better. He got it at 45 than when he's at now. But I just don't get it. Is it just because Ricky's? It's only because Ricky's popular. That's it. Hi, I'm Ricky. I can't win a standard event, but I'm going to win the U.S. Open. Thanks. Nothing against the guy. He's great, but he should be 30 to 1.
It shouldn't be 30 to 1.
He should be.
No, he shouldn't. I mean, you could be right.
Who has a better chance of winning? Who has a better chance of winning? Sergio or Ricky? Major champion Sergio Garcia.
Ricky.
No, Sergio does.
Ricky, every part of Ricky's game is so solid that you think the total package, when you put every aspect of golf into one, that it should work really well for him.
I completely agree. And when you look at what he
Long
does
irons, he can drive it very accurately.
He does it all.
He can scramble the hell out of it. We've talked about how, for a guy that doesn't win, he hits like 8 12-foot putts with such steam and confidence, and that is such a key factor for me. And yeah, I'm a sucker. I don't even almost want to include it. I haven't done anything yet. Tomorrow, this is being released
Thursday. Tomorrow.
And I'll be parlaying Ricky with the Capitals, who I already have a series bet on.
Well, you know what you should have done? Just done the Dustin parlay. Dustin Memphis, Dustin U.S. Open. That'll get him up to like 90 to 1.
That's all right. But here's the thing. A tradition like no other is me having huge Warriors futures that cash to give U.S. Open free rolls.
So it's not that I don't think that Ricky can't win. Obviously, he's good enough to win. It's just I think that he's constantly overvalued compared to the guys that he's around. Like, he's not on the level of these guys. Just not. In popularity, sure, he is.
I'll say this. The next guy up shouldn't be paying more than Ricky Fowler.
Well, we just skipped over 3 guys in a row. So Justin Thomas is just sitting there. The best player in the world. Been the best player most definitely over the past 18 months. 14 to 1. and put on a clinic in the third round at the U.S. Open a year ago. Remember when he drove that par 4? And then he made that Happy Gilmore putt where he putted it up the hill and it went in?
And now he comes as a major champion and a PGA Player of the Year. And it's amazing. Like, it's been, what's the last time he won? Honda? I say that like because he was on such a run, and then he almost won a couple WGCs, lost to Phil in the playoff, lost in the semifinal of a match play. I mean, he's gone from winning 30% of the tournaments he's entered to what, like 24% of the tournaments he's entered?
So this season, swing season included, so we'll start in October when the official 2018 season started. Here are Justin Thomas's results. He was 17th, 1st, 11th, 22nd, 14th, 17th, 9th, 1st, 2nd, 17th, 21st, 11th, and 8th. And now we're back on POA, which is his best putting surface. That's a really weird angle to come at this with. Because you just don't see very many POA greens outside California. Like, I know he's not a California guy, but he does some of his best work in California. Like someone, even to the extent, not that I think like Charles Howell is going to win, but we'll get to one of my sleepers and long shots later. Just guys that pop on POA. Like Dustin, great POA putter. Brant Snedeker, great POA putter. Brendan Steele, not a great POA putter, but significantly better than he is on all other surfaces. So I think that's an actual split you can look at.
There's an underdog that I like on POA too. And I think by the time you're watching this, hopefully there's a cherry pop in Memphis.
Okay. But Justin Thomas, will he get any of your action? Because I'm just never on him.
I play him in DraftKings.
That's
He's
the
been
thing.
in lineups for the last year. But guys that have been watching us, like, when has he ever been on one of my betting cards? And maybe that's my own fault. Maybe and as we progress here, you'll see who the guys I'm kind of leaning to. I can sometimes be suckered based on the conversation we had 3 minutes ago, Pat. I'll acknowledge when it comes to major championships, I sometimes get suckered into picking guys like I want to win. Way more than like the other tournaments. I'll bet on anybody if it makes sense. With majors, it's like, you know, if the Chargers are in a big game, like I would never bet the others, like in a championship game. Any of my favorite teams in a big game, like I want to bet that team. There's no thinking about betting those other teams.
Okay, and I don't come with the same sort of bias that you do, but people who've been watching the show, or if you're a first-time viewer, I just don't hit the top of the card all that often. Like, my strategy to golf betting has been fairly successful, at least treading water, is I take a lot of longer shots, and when one of them wins, I cash in big for a really long time, and I play a lot of top fives, a lot of top tens, some head-to-heads, first-round leaders, that kind of thing. And just, if I started betting these guys at the top of the board, the bet would have to be so big that it would really suck away from all my bankroll, so I generally stay away with it. That said, there is a guy who is he's 20-1 and above, but near the top of the card that I'll probably end up going with.
And I completely agree with you, and maybe I'm just sucked into my own personal biases. I think that player, granted his trophy case doesn't have what Justin has just as good of a chance of winning this tournament.
How about another major champion? 16-1. Two-time winner on tour this year and a second place finish. I actually went and looked at it. He has 7 starts in 2018. He has 2 wins, a second, and 4 top fives. Jason Day. I'm not betting Jason Day. And he actually statistically rates out the worst of anyone. Like, he's well behind everyone else when you think about tee to green, but his short game and his putting has been so amazing.
Insane. The up and downs that I've seen him make, and it finally caught up to him a bit
at Memorial
on the weekend at the Memorial. A lot of people thought he was going to be that prime position guy to make the move. He got lapped by a lot of the other, I don't want to say lapped, but his weekend was not something to get excited about. It seemed like those par saves finally started to abandon him. I don't know. At this moment, I don't like Jason Day. If you tell me he's got 107-degree fever on Tuesday, I might think about betting him. Clown.
All right.
I mean that in a good way. Like, remember him like the vertigo? It's always...
And he plays he plays really well in these really tough tournaments as well. He's a fantastic player. It's just he's not... Like, if we're going to knock Spieth for not being able to putt, and that's why everyone's staying away from him, like, Jason Day's not hitting irons all that well. He's just saving his ass because he's putting the lights out. And if there's one thing that's ever going to flip for you, it's putting, good and bad. Bad putters can putt really well. Good putters can putt really poorly. You know who's not out driving Dustin Johnson ever? Shez Reavie. That's why you go with the bankable, consistent skills over something that anyone can kind of do on any given day. Yes, there is a track record of Jason Day being an excellent putter. I don't expect him to putt poorly this week, but if he did, he's kind of out of it. He might miss a cut. Jason Day. I'm fading him on DraftKings too, to my peril. But gotta fade someone.
Yeah, it also works when talking about these guys like Justin Thomas. And I'll acknowledge he changed his stripes completely. I mean, I always knew he was like really special. But before last year, I always thought he'd win a lot of tournaments. But I thought the tournaments would be like the birdie parties. Like I would never come into a tournament thinking this winning score is going to be like -4 or close to even par. And that like suits Justin Thomas. So it's a type of mindset player as well that you have to decide who you're going to be looking for. And I guess speaking of mindset, next guy up's probably the toughest of them all.
Well, which one do you want to do first? Do you want to do the one that we, of course, have to talk about, or the one that I'm picking to win? We'll get to Tiger in a second.
Okay, that's good. I like the guy you're picking to win very much. I think in terms of value at the top, I'll say his name, Jon Rahm. I'm dancing around saying the name. To me, and like I said, maybe I'm in my own little bubble, has almost just as good of a chance as every single guy we've stated below. And in some cases, he certainly is the highest number. And I think he hasn't played in a bit. I think he could drift.
He was 5th at Fort Worth. I think he's going to drift. That's the main reason with him. And I have not
because of all these major champions ahead of him, and he's not like playing this week to like look awesome. And Fort Worth, Memorial was a stacked field event. Fort Worth kind of, to me, come Monday morning, Pat, feels forgotten. And I expect that to drift, maybe even to the 25.
Yes.
Can we hope as the books beg for our action?
We'll see. I think that we'll get at least a 22. His number's 20 right now. And when you're at the top, those 2 points do mean a lot. It's not like, oh, well, he's 170. I'm holding out for 175. Like, it's already 170. There's a lot of pricing that goes into the very top of the board. I mean, you could have the same concerns about Rahm as you do about Day. The irons haven't quite been there. But he's still just, if I think about what sort of player that I want to target here, I want to favor length. Day has the length, Rahm has better length. Basically, you're getting discount Dustin Johnson here with Jon Rahm. Every time that I look at him, when it pertains to DraftKings, he's almost like $2,000 cheaper. Yeah. He's the 4th ranked player in the world. Dustin is the 2nd ranked player in the world. You're getting double the odds, probably more than double by the time that everything kind of finally shakes out. Like, I'm not going to guarantee that Rahm wins, but I think value-wise, of all these guys at the top of the board, Jon Rahm's a guy.
I agree with you, and
we get the fun of everyone looking back to last year, when he was Andrew cursed, mind you, that him talking to himself and like freaking out because he couldn't make a chip. That was last year. The guy freaks out. He's a hothead. He also has 5 wins worldwide in the past 16 months. Guy's awesome.
He is unworldly talent.
And you know what he does too? He putts well. He's not like first in putting. But unlike some of these other guys near the top, it's a lot like Dustin. Like he's like 40th in putting. If you look at the past 24 rounds, Rahm's 35th in putting. He doesn't need to putt well to win. But if he does putt well, watch the fuck out.
Listen, I mentioned at the top, if there's a gun to my head and I needed to pick someone to win this U.S. Open, it would be Dustin Johnson. That being said, from betting perspectives, what do you try to do? Well, I try to take that Dustin Johnson skill set and try to find the other guys who can do that when it's going right. And I called it last year for the U.S. Open in terms of like, it was a poor, like, who can do what Dustin does? And Jon Rahm, yes, he's a baby, but I mean,
Brooks was a baby.
No, but my point being is, I know Dustin took a longer path to get his majors. There were a lot of heartbreaking incidents and close calls.
Since he broke your heart at Chambers Bay 3 years ago, you have 2 consecutive U.S. Open winner picks.
Do you want to know something? It could have been 4 because we were on Keimer before Chambers Bay. The U.S. Open in many ways has been my baby because the Keimer at where were
Pinehurst.
Pinehurst.
By the way, this course, Because I already, spoiler alert, I bet Keimer at 175 to
Of course you did.
But the greens here, one of the things that Mike Davis implemented from the USGA, shaved greens. There's no rough around the greens. So guys can putt if they want to. It may not be the most successful thing, but when you have really shitty short game guys, some of that will be masked because they'll be able to putt.
Well, that's the danger in going long, because in that no laying up video, they showed a lot of instances where there is you roll long, you're going for a roll. And yeah, I mean, some of those positions seem puttable, but I guess when it's going to be hard and fast, getting a chip to stick up there is going to be incredibly difficult, and it's going to be incredibly fun. But the modern U.S. Open, to me, is set up for the Dustin Johnson skill set. It's hard to bet Dustin Johnson if you want to have a card of other golfers. So we try to take Dustin's skill set and say, who else can do that? And Jon Rahm, as I was saying before, he is his short game is exponential. It's leaps and bounds ahead of where Dustin's was at the age that Rahm is. It's crazy. And that's all the credit to Dustin in the world for having, gotten his short game and the happy learned how to putt sometimes jokes that we can make when everything's going right for him. But there's no I think Rahm's going to take that number one in the world and hold all these guys off. All of them.
If you look long term, not just, I think that mixing in pedigree does matter to an extent at a lot of these majors. Just having wins underneath your belt, just to have that, just being able to deal with the pressure. We see it so often in majors that guys who are not used to being there at any sort of tournament, and then all of a sudden they're in it, they tend to fade away. When you look at Rahm's long-term skill sets over the past 100 rounds, it's a fairly large sample. You're looking at someone who is top 10 in this field of par fours gained, driving distance, off the tee strokes gained, ball striking. That's nuts. And tee to green. He's top 25 in putting, bogey avoidance, and scrambling. I like Jon Rahm.
I like it.
All right.
There's
my case for Jon Rahm. Watch him come dead last. And I think this plays more like Oakmont does than last year at Erin Hills. Jon Rahm, as an amateur, did make the cut at Oakmont, where Dustin Johnson won. Tiger Woods. You ready? Can Tiger win this?
Yes.
Okay.
But I'm not going to bet it.
He's 16-1.
Here's the thing. The Players' Championship, we both love that 40-1. And we only got that one really great round. We saw some great signs of life. What was it, a 9-under Saturday or something? Because he was playing Phil for cash on Thursday and Friday, and he was just worried about that it was all about Tiger. On Saturday, he showed that late round. And again, I bet Tiger at Memorial 20-1. My basis being the field is less hard than Shinnecock. It's a bigger number than Shinnecock.
At a course where he's won.
That he freaking loves.
Apparently he doesn't love the green so much. Tiger Woods leading the field tee to green. Lost almost 8 strokes putting, which is very atypical. And good news for Tiger, if anything, projecting him forward.
I'm a Tiger fanboy. Those were the only 2 times I've bet him this year. I really feel like that win is close, but I'm not doing it here for Shinnecock. The swing speed has been there. But when he's really when he really needs the length, I'm worried
that he can hit a fairway.
About what's going to happen. And I'll say this: we were both very confident he'd win a tournament if he was healthy and played the schedule.
Which I still think he will.
Play. We agree. It's great that here we are in June, and the conversation about major championships is. I don't think he's ever catching Jack, but I do believe.
But here's the difference, though. The difference is when we saw remember when he just, at the first round of the Hero, when he first came back, then all of a sudden his Masters odds went from 80-1 to 20-1. And we laughed at it. We're like, Tiger's not winning the Masters. This is ridiculous.
And then the Masters odds got shorter because he played great through Florida.
Sure. But even then, it was just Tiger.
It got to a favorite, right?
He was the favorite.
There was a favorite.
He was 10-1 to win the Masters at one point, and then it came back to earth. But I think 16-1. If I'm going to make a case against Ricky Fowler for being overvalued, Tiger is certainly overvalued at 16-1 in this field at this course. But it's not outrageous. The Ricky number is not outrageous by any means, and this Tiger number isn't outrageous, but it's too short.
It's too. My biggest concern now for Tiger and the majors, because I do believe through what we've seen, like they're in play, and especially Carnoustie seems very much in play, and that'll be a hype machine.
Or even Belle Reeve.
Okay, maybe. But a layout like, I just worry what's going to almost, Tiger's biggest prevention from winning another major is even if he shows up and has an A game, if any of those like 5 names in front of him or Rahm behind him have A game, I don't think his A game is good enough. And I'm a fanboy saying that, but that is also a concern for me. His best golf might not be is not as good as the other guy's best golf right now.
Throwing it out there. Can Tiger get shook on Sundays? His Sundays haven't been great.
No.
Is he just not used to contending? Like, it's been so long since he's had a legitimate chance to win that, like, maybe he fills it. That he's just so stunned to see his name at the top of the leaderboard that he can't get those powers back.
I don't want to say he's shook, but it's a feeling that he's got to get back in his system. And part of the show that we did around the holidays, and something I think you even mentioned when his name came up in our St. Jude show a week ago, is like if he can keep going, if he can go to a couple more events like the Wyndham.
Play the Wyndham.
He's
play the Travelers.
He is going to play the Wyndham, but if he can play a couple more like that one, like you almost feel like once he gets the confidence.
But he hasn't, like, for all the great finishes that he's had, the only chance he had to win a tournament this year was Valspar. On the back 9 on Sunday,
yeah, I
Tiger
agree.
was in it.
I agree.
I guess you could potentially say Bay Hill, but Rory just started running away.
No, he wasn't. Because
catching
even
Rory.
Stenson and there were other guys.
Yeah, Bryson was right there.
Yeah, there were other guys. I want to say like Honda, we were just so impressed with the greens and like just the ball.
We were shit, Tiger's doing stuff.
Yeah,
good.
like the ball striking, greens and rag, like good off the tee.
And then he lost to Sam Burns on Sunday.
Yeah, that was weird. I was there. Yeah, I just don't. I would be happier than a pig in shit if he actually won a major. It'd be worth more than the money, but I'm not there for this one.
Okay, how about this? 33-1 in this next level down. Phil Mickelson. Phil's getting some buzz here. And if Phil wins Memphis, this number is 20-1.
No.
No?
Not for me.
Not for me either, but...
I mean, people were referencing Phil's 2004 result here.
Yep.
Do you know what it is?
He came second. He was one of the 2 guys that finished under par.
I knew it was incredibly good. That's like Phil Mickelson in his prime, so that's less relevant to me.
Yeah, but he would have won the U.S. Open last year, as we know, had he have played, right?
That's not even a thing. I don't even want to go there. No, he's not going to win.
Okay, let me reframe this question. We're both Team Tiger, and we both dislike Phil.
Should Tiger be double
Phil? He probably shouldn't be.
No, that's a good point. That's fair, but I'm not betting either of them. But if someone, that's a fair point. And Phil, I mean, history shows Phil is going to finish top 10 in Memphis.
If Phil has to hit driver at this course, like, he's going to be in the fescue the entire time, isn't he? Like, I talked about the fairways being widened and then coming back in, so they're still relatively narrow. If he can't hit fairways, he's screwed.
And the thing, even if Rahm is going to miss the fairway,
he's going to be a lot closer to the hole.
He's going to be a lot closer to the hole, and if he misses the fairway and he can't play to the green, like a lot of guys will be in that situation, he can lay it up to that wedge range, like that 68-yard, 80-yard wedge, and try to save par for 10 feet. I don't know.
Phil can do that.
But to me, when Phil or guys with Phil's length have to make that recovery shot, they're hitting that third one in from like 120.
Yeah, that's fair. Good range for Phil. I mean, if we're talking about and I do think this is going to play, I don't think a major factor, but it could be somewhat of an influence. Those shaved greens, it could take some of Phil's advantage away around the greens. Because it just allows the people that are poor around the greens to be a little bit better. Maybe it's just a big benefit to Phil. That he can just...
To me, it goes like one of two ways. You see some of the shots that are going to need to be pulled off around the greens to get balls to stick around the hole. To me, it's always like boom or bust with Phil. I don't expect
the one
Phil-
thing he's been doing all year long though is he's making those 12-foot putts. All year.
I don't expect Phil to have an okay U.S. Open.
Either really good or really bad. Yeah, I can see that.
And that's Phil most weeks, right? That's not like me
Sure,
going out on a limb.
but he's smoothed out those edges this year.
They're absolutely.
He's not making triple bogeys anymore to take himself out of tournaments.
No, he is
Watch him
not.
do it in Memphis now because there's a ton of water. But either way, like his scrambling is so good that the errant tee shots he's fixed a little bit. But I don't know if you put driver in his hand. It's a lot like Tiger. With the moment you put driver in their hand and expect them to hit 60% of fairways, especially when they're narrow, I just don't know if it happens.
I really wish, maybe this is like so silly because it would never have gotten this. I really wish like Justin Rose was still like in his lollygag and he would have this number that Phil has.
Or people like weren't savvy to Justin Rose and how good he is.
Yeah, like, if he just did what like if he's having last season and coming to this course for the U.S. Open.
Okay, here's the entire next range. So after Rahm at 20, it's Koepka at 25, Hideki at 28, Stenson at 30, and then we have, let's see here, Phil at 33, Sergio at 33, Reed at 33. Then you got Casey, Grace, Bubba at 40, Bryson, the solo man, at 45, Fleetwood at 50. So those are your 20 to 50 in terms of range overall. I made a bet on Tommy Fleetwood already at 50 to 1. He could drift because he's not playing, but
could drift. You know me. I got the bet as well. I joked on Twitter. I let people know. I told you Fleetwood.
You asked me. I didn't look. You asked me what his odds were.
I told you to guess the number. I've bet Fleetwood, Pat. Guess the number. You said, I don't know, 25. I'm like, no. And that made me feel good. I'm like, no, it's 50. And you kind of popped. And
listen, this
here
is where the world fell in love with Bullet Tooth Tommy here last year.
You had the 125 to 1.
175 to 1.
Even better.
He cashed that each. I thought he was going to win. I was like, I'm going to be a millionaire. Yeah. This is going to be great. He didn't win, obviously, because Brooks Koepka did. But he made an 11-foot par putt on 18 to save that top 6.
I think he can win this sucker.
I think he can too.
This guy's gone all over the world, showed up on courses he's never played before, and he's done incredibly well. His track record at doing that was fantastic. The big ask. Yeah, it's a big ask. He's never won a PGA Tour event.
Yeah, it's true.
That's a big ask. Your first North American win to be an Open Championship. The U.S. Open. That's kind of asking a lot. But we've seen this with some of these Europeans.
Yeah,
they don't.
I agree. Listen, they don't. Brooks had one.
They're not
win
interested
before
in crashing the Honda. They take your big trophy like GMAC.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it seems to.
And if it
can happen that way.
There are very few players, and like these stats on wind are all over the map.
Yeah.
But
I trust him.
I trust him in the wind. I trust Grace in the wind. I trust DJ in the wind. And people can look at some of Rory's stats and say that he's been really good in the wind. I don't feel like he is. And I can be completely off base on that just from watching him. Like, when Rory's good? When the course softens up a bit. He can fire it.
Fire.
If it rains a little bit, Rory's going to win.
Fire. But Rory also, I feel like, excels. He can pin stock when it's softer, but he excels with fast greens putting.
Yes.
I feel those are the putting formula that leads to him. And, I mean, listen, we've talked about a lot of guys and skill sets. Rory's
right there.
Right.
But Rory has that.
There.
But Rory's such a high variance player.
Oh,
he's almost becoming like Phil.
I made this joke almost too many times that people, who've watched us for a while might get bored with it. But there's no super elite that flirts with 80 more than Rory. To me, he's like the Pittsburgh Steelers of golf. 5 minutes sometimes into a Steeler game, whether it's the awesome fantasy Steelers, Bell, Brown, everybody's doing it all. Or, oh my God, this is a Steeler team that just packed it in. They're going to win by 2 points versus the Colts or the Browns or some Eduardo Nahara team. Rory flirts with that too much. Back to Tommy though. A sucker for him. We had him at the Masters at 80. I believe everything is possible. I mean, he's already won a race to Dubai.
Storm back on Dustin over in the Middle East too.
I mean,
in bad conditions.
I don't like to bring world rankings into this, but what is he, like 11th in the world?
Yeah. I think he's 11. He might have slipped a little bit over the past few months, but either way.
I mean, he hasn't won in the last couple, but he's been very consistent.
Yeah. He was good at the Players, then he went over to
Now,
Wentworth and had a good Sunday. Italian Open was just like, hey, I'm going to go play the Italian Open. Keep warm.
I'm going to throw one. I need to pick one hole in Tommy, and I don't know if this is accurate.
He can't putt. That hurts.
Sometimes it feels like the finishes are good, but it usually feels like one fantastic round kind of catapults
Agreed.
the entire tournament.
Completely agree.
But if he can just, at a place like this where the score we think can win,
Just stay around par, have
that one round. And that kind of leads me into a guy you name dropped already that I don't
Brendan
know,
Grace.
year in, year out shows up on our U.S. Open cards.
It has to be hard, though. If this course does not play
he's
hard,
done.
he's going to be
done.
a disaster.
Because he's not winning a birdie fest versus Justin Thomas.
No.
It's just not happening. Though, granted, he had that crazy Open championship.
But that was,
round.
again, that was the one low round
Yeah.
when everyone else was terrible, and then he was like even par the rest of the time.
But we know what happened at Chambers with him and Get Lucky, and he's always seems to have a nice track record for this U.S. Open. And
if it gets windy, you're like, let's go. Here comes Brendan Grace.
I fawn over Ricky's ability sometimes to hit those. The confidence I see him hit those 8, 12-foot putts.
The problem with Grace is, though, that Ricky doesn't miss like the 3-footers like Grace does. Like you're happier to see Grace with an 8-foot putt than like a 3. You're like,
Fine.
oh, let's hold on here, Brendan.
I like Grace a lot. I'll be betting him.
I'm waiting for that number to come in because I think we might get a better number on Monday. And he's someone I want.
I think it's even a 45 at.
It might be. He is someone I like. I didn't each way Tommy. I might re-up on it if the number goes down. And
Grace is more of an each way.
Grace is definitely more of an each way guy for me because I can see him coming third.
Okay, fair enough.
Brooks, you're in on him at 45. Would you have interest at 25? Because I missed the 45 vote.
Maybe he seems. I'll say this. I want to backtrack a bit.
How much would you like to backtrack?
I want to go a little backwards because he's part of what someone brought to my attention. It's been a very strong U.S. Open history for me that we got cut off from before. So Keimer at Pinehurst. Mm-hmm. And then literally maybe
Dustin
the worst moment of my golf fandom life was Dustin missing that putt at Chambers.
And then missing the other one.
I'm talking about the other one. Although, in my when I want to feel less bad about it, I make it like that first putt was like 30 feet. That first putt was like 18 feet.
It was not long.
It was not a long putt, Pat. My wife went away that we didn't have a kid yet. So my wife was away. Father's Day wasn't really a thing. And she came home and I was just on the floor. Like I was on the floor. Like Nate Kading just missed a kick. I was probably crying. I got plantar fasciitis for the whole summer. I didn't sit down that whole day. I just walked the hardwood floor in my house that whole day. And imagine Dustin versus Jordan for 18 holes under the old playoff rule. I'm like watering up now. Anyways, the next year he wins at Oakmont, and that was great. You knew he was going to win Oakmont. That logo was like a squirrel with a nut. And it was like for the year, I was like, it's Dustin finally finding his nut. Made perfect sense. And last year, River Phillips called Brooks. And I even tweeted, I don't know how to go back and find old tweets. But
so you're like Tim.
No, it's way more complicated than closing a window.
That's fair.
Because I tried to do it. I can never type the code
I'll show you after
properly. Me and Bob Koepka had an exchange last year. 2 to 3 weeks out before the U.S. Open, I told him he's going to have the best Father's Day ever. And I wasn't referring to a Dairy Queen cake. I was not referring to a Dairy Queen cake. And he had the Father's Day, I'm sure, of a lifetime.
Here's the thing. At 25-1, is he really going to repeat?
It's hard, and it's a completely different course than like the one that he won at last year.
Yeah.
Like a completely different layout, but again, he brings that poor man's skill set. Last year he was 40, I want to say.
He was.
Yeah. 40-1 was that number. 25 seems
I won't be playing
tough.
it at 25. Unfortunately,
but I don't really.
I missed the boat. Yeah, if it was still 45, I'd be all over it at 25.
What was
I think Rahm has a better chance.
I bet it after the first event. He's played 3 events. I don't remember what the first one was. He finished 40th or something.
Yeah, he actually played Zurich.
Okay, you're right. That doesn't show up
with Mark Turnstiles.
Yes.
And then he made the cut at Wells. That was good.
Okay, so yeah.
Then he was second at Fort Worth.
No, then 11th at the Players.
And 11th at the Players.
Yeah, so 11th and 2nd is where he's coming in. He's only played 4 if you count the team event.
And he's playing this week in Memphis.
It was after Wells Fargo when I bet it. I was like, we still got time. We still got time to get into form, and he's in form. And I wish, looking at it now, the bet was I wish the bet was bigger. Also, though, Pat, if you looked at these odds like a month ago or out of the Masters, how many guys do you think actually drifted down other than Brooks?
Fleetwood.
He was 80? What would he have been?
Oh, down. I thought.
Down. Sorry, down like worse. Whose odds have gotten worse if you were like looking at U.S. Open odds the day after the Masters? Brooks? Who else?
That's really it.
Justin Rose, maybe, by a few points.
Webb, because he won the Players.
Of course, Webb, yep.
Okay, well, I want to keep rapid firing through some of these guys here.
Okay.
Hideki at 28. I think he is a better draft. I don't think he's a great play, but I think he'll end up being a good. I would much prefer to play him in DraftKings than bet him.
I'll say this: Hideki was like 28 at the Memorial, and this is a stronger, harder field. And that's a course he's won and played well at, and maybe that would have been a good case, but. I don't know. This is a range I'm kind of not into.
Me too. So Stenson at...
I could get talked into it, but I don't... It's not for me. It's not for me. I don't really think... I like anyone here. Grace is where I start, and I'm always kind of...
All right, well, Bubba, completely out? I'm completely out.
It's not...
No thanks.
It's not for... I mean, listen, Bubba... What happened this year? Bubba won and played well at places where he is...
Except for
kind of got history.
Yeah, even
match play.
But even at match play, he had made it out of his group the previous.
But even match play. I mean, yes, this U.S. Open suits Bombers, but it was a kind of wide open. I mean, look who's won. Look who's been in the finals in match play. It was a Rom versus DJ a year ago. It was a very suave pick for you and some other people who were on Bubba that week at the match play, just trying to project how the course is played in its limited exposure to us.
But
I'm not. I don't like this. To me, could be a not happy place. This could be some Ted Scott like stare downs.
Okay, so here are the ones that I'm interested in. Sergio at 33, Reed at 33, Casey at 40. I might end up betting Paul Casey to win a major.
Listen, yeah,
it hurts to say. It doesn't feel right to talk about. But I told you he's really good. He's starting to putt.
Okay, here's the thing. And this is maybe the name you could have thrown like at me. And you went with Brooks, which was fair and maybe more competitive when making the Ricky comparison. You could, and I'm a Ricky guy. You could make the case Ricky should not be priced lower than Paul Casey. In many ways, with Ricky's bit of a drought in cracking through the winner's circle, they're in many ways the same guys. They're statistically fantastic. I think Ricky's a better putter. I'm more confident in Ricky getting...
I'll give you that.
Sorry, but do you know what I mean? I mean, like, statistically, when you just look at every individual sort of part of the makeup of a golfer, off the tee, long irons, they're very similar in consistency and overall, like, consistency across the board.
I'll give you this. Casey's better. In all those stats.
I mean, that's where you want to go. That's fine.
So here's the thing. He's missed one cut this year. He missed one cut last year. So he has that consistency that you always really like to see. And this is the fact that he's a terrible putter. So the putting's not taking him out of it because he's so good tee to green. Over the past 100 rounds in this field, he's top 10 off the tee, ball striking, approach, par fours gained, tee to green, and bogey avoidance. And like I mentioned, he's one of 3 guys in the field who rank both inside the top 35 in driving distance gained and fairways gained.
I don't not like it. I could end up betting it.
And he's the most underpriced guy on DraftKings.
He's always... It's weird. I would argue this is incredible value. When you kind of even think about, even in recent times, in full field events, like Casey's been weaseled in a lower price range than this. Because guys who play the models... He pops on every model. He is the model popper. He's a staple for DraftKings. I guess he'll be a comfortable price where he's going to be incredibly popular
as he should be.
Yeah, because he's incredibly consistent. You don't need to. I mean, you can't count on anyone making the cut per se, but you're very confident. that he will play a role or be getting weekend points for you. The model guys, he pops on every model, and usually he's shorter than this.
What about the guy that probably creates his own model? Bryson's 45, coming off a big win.
I don't know. I got it. I just
You
feel
hit
like
it.
good for you. If you want to jaunty the U.S. Open, Payne Stewart style, get her done, Bryson. But I'm not.
Sergio or Reed?
I'm not there.
No? I know you love both of them.
I do love both. I mean, is just I don't know what the actual term for what I'm trying to say is, but is like the universe gonna hook Patrick Reed back-to-back majors? It was almost like last year, or not to the same extent, where it was like Sergio won the Masters. I might like him for the U.S. Open, but the universe just doesn't work like that. Like it's just not happening, kind of. Is that a dumb logic?
Well, yeah,
because
you're now influencing karma into everything.
no, which is incredibly stupid.
You're just not feeling. I'm not feeling it either.
But that being said, even through some sketchy performances, you see him around the greens. He's got some fluffy greenside hosel, puts it to 2 feet, saves par, walks
again,
off the hole.
Is it harder to do that with these shaved greens?
I would say it is. If I had to guess, although you said it's a fine line.
It could be. I don't know how it's going to work out. It could swing massively to the advantage of the elite short game guys, or it could swing back the other way. I'm kind of banking on it swings back the other way. The guys can start putting, doing all that nonsense.
I mean, Sergio was hitting it.
I have a distinct Euro lean for this US Open.
Most of my bets, if I think about it, are European players. Sergio, I was so high on. He was hitting irons as pure as anybody around the Masters, thinking of the event in Mexico and in and around that
Honda,
time of
same
the
thing.
season. He was hitting it so pure. I don't think he's done much of anything.
No, he's actually been bad.
And then
since
he
the
went to
Masters.
Texas. He played in a lot of Texas events. I know that's where he lives now in the States, but I'm not there. I'd be happy for him, but I'm not betting it, Pat.
Okay, 50 to 100.
Yeah.
Is where we're looking at now, and we don't need to go over all of these guys. Just sort of pick and choose. The first one that catches
50
my
to
eye.
100. That's a big group.
Well, I mean, we can't talk about every player in the field, so just the guys that you like from here. I bet Charles Schwartzel at 80 to 1 last week. He's Anderkirch this week in Memphis. So
You bet him a lot at
I like Charles.
U.S. Opens, I would think.
Listen, I like Charles. I like the South African guys. And he's starting to gain strokes off the tee, which is really nice because that's where he was massively struggling and was really causing a lot of his problems. He's gained 3 in a row. I think that he'll probably end up playing pretty well in Memphis, and the number's already cut to 75. I got it at 80. We'll see where it ends up. But
He could win in Memphis.
He could win in a lot of places, and he is a Masters champion. So, and he's won a hard course like Valspar before. Like, Innsbruck is a tough place to play where you have to hit some fairways. If he's hitting fairways, he's live. I don't love him, but I just like the odds on him. And of all of these guys, I know we'll talk about Finau, we'll talk about Cantlay. I feel like everyone's just kind of forgotten about Alex Noren here.
Talking to me? You're not talking to me as someone who's forgotten Alex Noren. I ride that. I'll ride or die Noren. I believe in everything is possible for this guy. Much like Fleetwood, how you said if it gets like dicey with the weather, I trust this guy in still being able to get the ball on the green. I know people will look back to that horrible match play semifinal where the putter abandoned him, but I think he's a pretty a well above average putter.
Well,
I believe he has
over the past 24 rounds. Alex Noren is 8th in strokes gained putting in this field.
Okay, I'll say it right now. Coming into this record today, I had bet. I think I said it on the St. Jude show. Fleetwood, Noren, and had the Brooks bet. Those were the bets I came into today with.
Yeah,
Could Noren drift farther because he hasn't?
Yeah, I think he can.
He can because he's kind of a forgotten guy. My bet's in. If the books want to post a 75 or an 80, I'll hit it again.
I want to play him with the each way as well. That's why I'm waiting for the wider each way.
Of course.
And if he's not playing this
that's
weekend,
smart.
then he's not moving.
But I absolutely love the guy. My confidence in him, if it does get to that crunch time, something I'll even bring up with Fleetwood and with Grace, who you mentioned. If it does get into a situation where it's like them versus Dustin, them versus Rory, I trust that they have the
balls to go for it.
the balls to.
I trust Fleet on the balls scale of guys that can close out against major guys. Fleetwood, I feel like, is way above that. Like we've seen Noren lose twice already this year. When it comes down to the wire, Grace almost loses every single time that happens.
Well, I truly believe in Fleetwood and Noren. I don't know. It might be weird. I bet them a lot.
Okay.
And I bet them at majors.
Your preseason pick of who's going to win this tournament, Patrick Cantlay, 60-1. I actually think he rates out really well.
Okay, so let me have the floor.
It's yours.
Was the preseason pick, much like
Brooks was?
Brooks a year ago, so I kind of do feel a bit beholden to sticking with it now that we're here. I'm going to say the good. I don't want to make an in-game variance comparison to golf because that's really silly, because that's a real thing in baseball and football in other sports, Pat. But this guy, you talk about a concern on the ability to close. I'm sure I do have it because I had money on him at Riviera and he blew a 2-stroke lead in Bubba 1, and I had money on him, lucky I still had Bryson, at Memorial. What was it, 2 strokes, 3? And he blew it. But the other side of that coin is this guy, the fine line, or maybe I'm giving him too much credit, of having a win at Memorial and Riviera right now. And maybe that's giving him too much credit to say he would have won both. But he would be like superhuman, young USA kid with those 2 wins, let alone the Shriners swing season. That'd be 3. He'd be like on pace to win Player of the Year. And he didn't win those 2 big events, so maybe I'm just talking out of my ass. But it's like the line between winning and losing is so small, and he was there in those events, and those were premier events with premier fields with big names, and I believe in Patrick Cantlay. I believe in him. It will be painful. We'll need Joe Buck to be entertaining us if it's Sunday with Cantlay, because we've seen how slow he can play, and I'm worried. Maybe you want to bet him with a place with a cash out button if he is up 2 on the back 9 on Sunday, but yeah, I believe it. And look at his results, like the players' results. What was that finish? He went into the weekend in fantastic position. Again, at the Memorial, this guy can show up in big places with big fields, and he can post numbers.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Who's a better bet? Patrick Cantlay at 60 or Tony Finau at 80?
I bet them both.
All right. It's one way to do it.
Another guy that blew it at Riviera and let
blew it at Riviera and
never hasn't won anything.
Broke his ankle at the Masters and turned out a top 10.
I like Finau a lot. And that was the POA guy I was talking about. Going back to POA. I believe...
It was funny because at the beginning of his career, he was awful on POA. Now he's kind of swung it back a little bit.
He's not like great on it. Let's not overrate.
Yeah, no, he's just less disastrous on POA.
There's less disastrous. Listen, when we talked about at the top of the show, Pat, and I know people can think this is a stretch, but Tony Finau ceiling golf is the U.S. Open skill set.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's when you're trying to find a guy. I mean, he is almost like if someone's like Fienberg, find me a guy over. Fleetwood might be my first pick if they want a guy like after the first 15 in the on the sheet, but after that, it'd probably be Tony Finau. It's maybe a bold claim for a guy who hasn't won much of anything.
Yeah, but look at something like when we look back at some of the winners of U.S. Opens that aren't the elite guys, like the Lucas Glovers of the world. Like, where are they? They're the tee to green guys and just catch a hot putter for a week.
Oh my God, Tony doesn't need to catch it for a week. He's got to catch it for like 2 days.
Well, when we get to one of my picks, someone is going to need to catch it for all 4 days.
Can I stay in this range and just spitball a couple names? I just want to throw a few more.
Listen, we really were almost an hour and 10 minutes into this.
Wow.
Yeah, it flies when we're talking.
Because another guy I think's been completely forgotten who can do it right and always holds his own. I'll go a little shorter. Is Leishman?
Yeah,
who I think is kind of forgotten. But his results, right? What he had the second at Byron.
Yeah, against nobody.
Okay, fair. And
he was winning at Byron.
Okay, yeah, and he lost to a kid, so you could hold that against him. Sure.
Listen, if it gets windy, we know Leishman likes playing in the wind. I have nothing against him, but if you're going to say that he's 55-1, and you got like Norn and Fleetwood and Casey and Grace all like within 10 points of him, I'm going to take those other guys.
Okay, yep. Incredibly fair. I got to just bring up the name because he won a BMW, and he got a second place in Italy, and Thunder Bear just outputted him.
No, thank you,
And
Francesco
I know
Molinari.
you'll be having DK, more extensive DK
No, I will
conversations.
just have none. I'll have none of him. Webb is interesting. I'll have no Louis. I don't want Griot here. Wise?
Doesn't Louis' number, does it feel fair or short?
I don't know. I never bet Louis, so
I've been suckered.
You can make him like if you made him like 200-1, I'd probably bet him, but like 55, no thanks. You want to bet him?
No. I would rather bet Norn. I'd probably rather bet Leishman if you were
I'd rather
actually
bet
sitting in that
Scheifele.
range. Even to go farther, like Casey at 40 to me feels like such a better bet than Louis.
Is Xander just playing like too much trash to get behind here?
No, didn't he have a great players?
Yeah, but then everyone got back on him. He was garbage.
Again though, Pat.
This is where he spiked last year. Like you said,
His-
at his best.
first ever U.S. Open, and he is a guy, he's got that poor man's U.S. Open winner skill set.
Good poa putter too, but
Yeah.
he was such trash at Fort Worth. Then he was such trash at Memorial.
I can get behind this pick as a long shot. Again, it's what
He's 80 though. Like
It's
he's
what-
not 150.
I think he's 100 on his some bucks out there.
Okay, maybe the ones that we're using for consistency.
He has the skill set of a U.S. Open, of what I believe the modern U.S. Open champion is. What he does well is what the modern U.S. Open champion needs to do well to win. So if you're making a card of poor man's
his
DJs,
DJs?
I think he should be on it.
Anyone else from below 100 you want to talk about? Your Harmon, Stricker.
Grillo missed it, right? The putter was hot.
Yeah,
Did we miss like the window? He just
You know what? He hits enough fairways that there are two types of, like you talk about like the modern player that can win a U.S. Open. It's the DJ skill set. The bomber who hits it kind of straight.
But
and
it's
does
also the Grace Grillo skill set too that I feel can be sneaky.
Sure,
and-
but a lot of Grace's is like keeping the ball low, scoring on like long par fours, that kind of thing.
and needing a low winning score.
With Griot, I don't think he's overly dissimilar to like Jim Furyk or Kuchar and those guys.
Is that good or-
That's good, but
Yeah.
like those guys always kind of show up in U.S. Opens, but the degree of difficulty for them to win is a lot higher because they're not hitting wedges and getting them to like land on these like cereal bowl greens. They're going to have to rely on short game, and they're going to have to make 10-foot putts, and they're going to have to hit longer irons to try to get them to stick. And I feel like eventually, it's not to say that they cannot do it, because they most definitely can. It's just the degree of difficulty is that much higher.
And their par 5 birdie putt is 15 feet, while those other guys.
Fortunately, there's only two of them on this course.
well,
par
one
fives.
of them's for sure playing as a 3-shotter.
So, okay, so then that's to the shorter players'
because
advantage.
they're not handing over birdies to guys that can
Yeah.
be greenside in 2.
All right, long shots.
I was surprised this guy was so low.
Who? Are we still? We're beyond.
No, we're at
100.
100.
We're 100 and beyond now.
Oh, I thought I could work within 100.
you can work
one
at
guy
100.
100 to 1.
Okay.
I thought it should be higher. Maybe some book will post a 150. I don't want you to look at me though. Peter Uline?
You can have all the fucking Peter line you want, pal.
So 101 is incredibly short, right? That doesn't
No,
feel,
listen, the guy's playing really well.
feels short. I thought
And he's someone who could most definitely pop in Memphis, and that number goes like 60 to 1 overnight. So if you do like Uline,
he's not
get
even
it now.
he's not even listed on some books.
Okay.
So I don't even have the hundreds all I'm seeing, and that pissed me off.
Guys that I like from down here.
Luke List.
Of course.
Poor man, skill set.
No, he's kind of like the welfare equivalent to Dustin Johnson. But still, like, imagine if I could tell you at the end of the U.S. Open, and I can't remember if the U.S. Open is one of those things where strokes gained is even shown, but let me say that for the week, Luke List, he's not leading the field in putting. Let's just say he loses 0 strokes putting. He's not in the positive. He's not in the negative. He's just 0. Where do you think he finishes? 9th?
Just fine.
100?
I like it. I'll bet it.
I think
125 to 1.
I will bet it.
You know what? It does feel better than Xander at 80.
It does.
Even though Xander, had a first run at the U.S. Open, finished 6th.
So I'm in a weird conundrum.
And Xander's won.
But here's the thing with List that I'm worried about. Because I do want to play him on the each way, but I want to get the extended each way on him.
Oh, yeah, of
But
course.
if he plays well in Memphis, we're not getting this number anymore. Although I guess it doesn't matter because I haven't bet to win in Memphis.
He'd have to win Memphis to really move the Gen
And I have
needle.
the cash on that already, so it's
yeah,
not really killing me.
Right,
so
though,
I'll wait.
Like, what is Luke List finishing 4th in Memphis? That's going to move that?
100. That's 25 points.
But that might still be worth getting the extended each way to lose those points.
I honestly think the top 10 bet for Luke List is probably better than the overall bet, but I'm a sucker, so I'll do it. I'm also going to be betting Siwoo Kim because that's what I do. Why wouldn't you bet Siwoo Kim?
I can't see somebody. Where is he? Is he not here?
Martin Keimer, I already have the bet on, and I only took it because he was leading the Italian, and he was 175 to
You'd
1.
have bet it
He's
anyway.
already dropped to 125.
Good for you. What about T. Hatton? What is his POA? Say he's been horrible. Can't even make cuts.
I
makes jokes
don't
himself
even know
on
if he's
the
ever
internet.
even actually played on POA, to tell you the truth. Like, how often is the guy playing California?
Because last year, what's funny, for the U.S. Open, I was really high on Hatton and Fleetwood. And obviously Fleetwood popped very hard.
Sure.
Oh, wow. Okay, this is who I'm going to ask about.
Go ahead.
There's still a couple people before I get there.
POA is his best putting service, but I believe he's played like 4 rounds on it in his career.
What about the man with the greatest short game in the world, according to PGA broadcasts?
Cameron Smith?
Kevin Na.
Okay. Well, I mean, by the stats, that is true as well. If I'm not going to bet Kevin Na riding a heater to win Memorial, where he's always played well, don't know if he has the mental capability to pull off a U.S. Open.
No, that was more of a joke. But the next one coming out of my mouth, nothing joking about it. RCB?
Listen, man, like, you have a problem.
Just one?
I like RCP. Rafa Cabrera Bayo's nice, but no.
Okay.
I have a guy down here.
Why is Gary Woodland 175 to 1?
What did he finish at Memorial? I didn't even know. I saw he made like 5.
Oh, he did.
I saw he made 5 birdies in a row at one point and be like, oh, Gary Woodland's back. And then he clearly didn't win.
I saw him lingering.
Ideal skill set wise, very good. But he has been fucking terrible.
Then no, because he's usually a 4.
He came 23rd at Memorial, so maybe he's got it back. He did gain 3.7 strokes off the tee, 5 with approach, lost a bunch around the green. If that doesn't play that big of a factor, no big deal. But his lead-in form, he had the win in Phoenix, then he missed the cut, 49th, 50th, miscut, 23rd. So if you think that he did turn the corner and you want to buy that, and listen, I'm not saying that that's not something, but I don't know, man. I only got one guy that I'm going to play, but I haven't played him yet. He's 160 to 1 right now.
Keegan Bradley.
It's not Keegan now. Brendan Steele.
I guess so. I mean, he's got the welfare skill set.
He
pounds the shit out of the ball.
POA is the only putting surface where he doesn't lose strokes, so that's nice.
And he can stick.
He's bad around the greens. And if I'm going to play this narrative, again, I can be completely off on it, but if he can start putting from off the greens, that can save him a little bit. He's not a great putter. He's not a great around the greens. T2 green, and especially ball striking wise, I don't want to say he's elite in this field, but he's top 20 in this field. And he's not even playing all that well right now. But I like it. I like Brendan Steele. So I will be on him, but I might get a better number once they expand everything. Because he's not going anywhere. He's not playing this week.
What if Benny Ann has a really solid week in Memphis and they still post that number?
What's his number right now?
125.
Yeah, that goes to, if he wins, it's 75. If he top 10s, it's 100.
It wouldn't be a show without me asking what you thought of Ollie at 275.
Did Ollie even... he did qualify.
He qualified, and he got a withdrawal from Memphis, which saved me a few bucks.
Way to go, Ollie. No.
No?
I think it's funny that he has longer odds than Danny Willett, though.
Oh, okay. I was always going to ask about Danny, who finally showed a respectable
he made
result.
a cut.
So
Yeah,
good
it was
for
good.
him. Yeah, cut. I mean, like a T10?
Tee to green guys from down here.
What about Beef?
No. The only guy that really kind of has my interest, he's 250 to 1. I guess Sharma kind of does because he's so deep. But Sung Jae Im is legit, man. He's leading the web.com in money. He was over on the Japanese tour and just crushing it over there. He's going to be on the PGA Tour next year and be good. Probably not going to bet him to win, but like DraftKings wise, he's like 6,100 or something like that. He's someone to watch because he's a legitimately good player. Oh, Geoff rankings in. Anyone else from down here? Chucky 3 sticks for a top 20. I can see myself getting behind, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I actually want to see what these odds are, and we'll discuss that on Tuesday's show, or on Monday's show.
Yeah, I think you could still see a lot of drift because I think it's so
Oh
wide.
my God, Paul, cut to me for a second. I mean, if you were Asian, you'd kind of look like him a little bit. I think if you were on the golf course.
I guess. You know what I've been getting a lot? Like chubbier Sam Bradford.
Yeah.
No, not Bradford. Darnold.
Oh, potentially it's the hair. You guys have the same haircut.
And nose, kind of.
So here's Im so far this year. He's playing the web. He has a win, a second, another second, a 9th, 21st, 35th. When he's playing on the Japanese tour, just a slew of top 20s and top 5s. Like, the guy's good.
So, Pat.
And he's young.
There are 2 Canadians in the field. One of them is Mackenzie Hughes.
And the other one's Mike Weir.
Oh, Mike Weir's not
Mike
in the
Weir
field.
qualified. Yeah.
Oh, so there are 3 Canadians in the field. Mackenzie Hughes, Mike Weir, and an NHL ref who qualified.
That sounds about. I can't wait for the Canadian broadcast. Oh, what a hero this ref is.
But I'm just saying, like, we're gonna have that, like, it's gonna be, Rom, Rory,
Adam Rank.
Adam, yeah.
No, it's not Adam Rank.
Notables.
Rank's from NFL Network. Garrett Rank.
Yeah, it is Rank.
It is Garrett Rank.
Yeah.
That's his name. He's an amateur. No. Fuck off, Garrett Rank.
You excited for the Fox coverage?
I am. I like the Fox coverage. I don't necessarily love the announcing team, but I like that they take chances on cool camera angles. I like that if you watch their web broadcast, like Bacon's on one of them. Like they have cool, like other off main. They're going to show
Faxon.
They're going to show a ton of coverage, which I like. They really should have like a DraftKings exclusive feed with you and I, and then we can just talk about it the entire time.
Curtis Strange does that too.
I can't remember.
He's the last guy to win 2 in a row.
They have Zinger, don't they?
No, that was just 1 year.
Oh. Darren Clark was good last year for them. He was doing the in-studio stuff. Like breaking stuff down and like smoking cigars. Really good suits on Darren Clark.
For sure. I wouldn't doubt that for a moment. Let me just see if I had anything else.
What if Chappell has a good week? Would you be willing to recommit?
I haven't seen it in forever, but yeah, I guess potentially.
Perez on Poa?
Did you watch The Americans?
No, I don't. I just heard it ended though.
It ended.
My wife watches it.
Great show. My favorite show in the last few years. Sad that it ended.
Last guy I want to mention before we get out of here. And again, we'll be back on Monday to kind of break it all down. Tomorrow's show is going to be super in-depth. But that's going to pertain to DraftKings pricing, not like winning. Like, who's going to like play well? If Jimmy Walker can hit his fucking driver, he's got a shot. But he can't hit a driver. So that's problematic. But scoring on par 4s, the game's coming around. The Lyme disease does no longer seem to be weighing him down. Like, he's not getting tired over the weekend like we kept seeing.
Did you see Tiger had his yacht? His yacht.
$20 million yacht parked off Long Island.
He had the yacht taken from Florida. The captain drove it from Jupiter.
How much do you think the captain of Tiger's yacht makes?
It's probably a good... It's probably a chilled
Do you think
situation.
he makes more than me? Or is it like right around the same? We're not going to say what I make. We're not going to say what he makes.
I don't think he...
I don't know. It could be
so.
It could
because
be like 10 times as much.
No, because I think it's more like he makes a good deal for what he's actually got to do.
He probably uses it like 3 times.
Yeah,
a year
that's what I
like
mean.
that,
but he's got to like maintain it. It's a big.
I bet you he makes more than I do.
Well, the payout he's getting just for this week, just for driving it from Florida to the I mean, this is in the Hamptons, isn't it?
Yeah, Southampton. But like, how much does he get paid for this one trip? 10 grand more?
I don't know. I don't know.
I should have been a yacht
know.
captain. Should wear those cool ascots and sweaters.
Well, yeah, so he's staying in his yacht. So
I don't know if he's staying on the yacht.
no.
Oh, he is staying on the yacht?
He's parked it there, yeah.
I'm surprised he doesn't have a house in the Hamptons.
That's a good point. I guess he doesn't. No.
Final thoughts. Before, what do you hope doesn't happen this weekend in Memphis?
Oh, in Memphis.
Yeah.
So you were going to say the U.S. Open. I was going to say anything good for Jordan Spieth. Memphis,
Like,
I'm incredibly confident. At least my entire betting card, for the most part, was what I said it would be. It was guys who I believe have really high ceilings, who will.
no, I mean as it pertains to the U.S. Open. Like, I kind of hope DJ win. Like, I'd rather my guys win Memphis, but if DJ wins, he's gonna push the prices of all of these other
that would
top
be good.
guys down. Like, Rom
Yeah.
will become 25 overnight if DJ wins.
I got no issue. With that. I hope Finau wins Memphis because
I don't. I hope Neiman wins.
That'd be
Or,
fine.
or
too.
Luke List.
Sure.
Or Kira. How about Kiridesh wins?
I would freaking love that. What's his number?
I didn't even see him on here, to tell you the truth.
Get out of town.
He's in the field, but...
I didn't see him either. He's been playing so much golf.
yeah, it's not good for a big man.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't see him. Is he in the field? He has no price? I'm sure you can find him somewhere.
Is he even in DraftKings?
Yeah, he's on DraftKings.
Yeah, you could request a price for sure.
I mean, he'll be in here on Monday. They're just
Yeah.
being lazy. Well, they did list Sebastian Munoz. If you go with, like, the all-bomber thing, like, do you consider someone like Ryan Fox? And I'm just purely talking about, like, top 20 plays, first-round leader plays. But, like, Fox, Mullenix, Vegas. Like, those type of guys. Is Landry in the field?
I didn't see his name in any of my scrolls.
And where's Chesson Hadley? I know he's in the field. He's inside the top 60 in the world.
Oh, they're not listed, which is pretty weird because there's some pretty Schezer players listed.
So we'll catch them on Monday.
Like there's an odd for Garrett rank.
Yeah, there is 1,000 to 1.
And did Ernie get an exemption?
Yeah, Ernie and Furyk both got exemptions.
Wind this clock, and people are talking like worst case scenario Tiger would ever show up at a sectional. Get out of it. Don't waste my data with tweets like that. Tiger playing in a sectional ever, Pat? No, no. I know the USGA has done some moronic things over the year, but they're not that clueless. Furyk and Els got one.
Well, Els has won before.
Tiger?
And so has Furyk.
Okay, and Tiger's won a few.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. But, I mean, the reason that they didn't give it to Stricker last year is because he's not a U.S. Open champion. That's why.
That's okay, fine.
Like, I'm sure Teef would have got one if he didn't qualify on his own. He went to a sectional and qualified. But if he didn't get it, like, listen, Teef, you're the defending champion at this course. Here's an exemption. Yeah. He'd be like, thank you for that.
Maybe.
Let's get out of here.
Bye.
Pat Mayo Experience. Geoff Fienberg. Follow him on Twitter at GFienberg17. Give the episode a like. You always got to do that. And if you enter all those contests, free Fantasy National membership for a year, DK bucks to give away, rate and review on iTunes, all that fun stuff. Plus, you can follow me at the PME on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. My bet's finalized after we do the show because I'll add some first-round leaders and everything like that. Once I see the weather draw, will be up on my Facebook page, facebook.com/thepme on Wednesday afternoon. Plus, I'll be doing a live chat that day. We got content for days for you coming out, so stay tuned to everything. Spread the word around of the Pat Mayo Experience because we're going to have the best U.S. Open coverage you could ever imagine, all right? Enjoy the U.S. Open. I'm Pat Mayo. I'll see you next time.
Pat Mayo Experience! Experience!